am not even kidding when I say that I am doing cartwheels excited that you are here with me. I am Leila Barker. This is Lucky Break Consulting, and I want to formally welcome you to Brick House Branding. I know that you've been waiting very patiently for a very long time for this class to get underway, and kickoff day is finally here. Welcome to module number 1. I have a lot of goodness waiting in the wings for you. It's going to be a little overwhelming. It's going to be a little disorienting, but it's going to be totally worth it, I promise. I once had someone describe week 1 of Brick House Branding to me in this fashion. They said, you know what, I was living in a snow globe and everything was pretty serene and easy and calm. And then I feel like on week 1 of Brick House Branding, a giant walked by the table where my snow globe was sitting, and they pick it up and they shook it so furiously, and then they laid it back down and just sort of strolled away. And now here I am inside of the snow globe. My entire world has gone topsy-turvy. I'm a little dizzy. Everything's swirling around me. And I'm just thinking, WTF. I want you to know that if you feel that way at the end of week 1, you're in really good company. It's probably a good sign that you've done the work, but this is intense work. We're going to go harder and deeper and more strategic on branding than any other branding class I've ever seen in my entire life, but it's going to be totally worth it. And if you do week 1 right, you're going to emerge from just this one module with more clarity than you probably anticipated having the entire semester-long experience. So I hope that you have some hot tea or coffee at the ready right now. I hope that you have a craft beer or a nice glass of wine on tap for this evening. You're probably going to need it. I hope you're stocked up on bubble bath and fresh toner cartridges and lots of paper. I am ready to roll up my sleeves and get things started with the first video, which is a nice high-level overview of what branding is really all about. Let's get to it, shall we? This is what I have on tap for you here in the first video. We're going to discuss what branding actually is and why it's so important to business owners like you and I. I'll also detail the difference between a brand and a commodity. Lots of people don't really understand the nuance and the differences between those two words, but that difference forms the foundation of our entire 9-week mentorship experience together, so it's pretty important stuff. Now, alongside each and every module release, you will also receive a packet of support materials. These are different materials that are designed to help you capture the most important pieces of this curriculum, put it into immediate use, and tailor it to fit your unique business. I want to make sure that you have 2 support materials at the ready right now. One of those is the workbook. Now, listen, if you are doing other things right now and listening to this video, if you're sort of glancing over as you can while you're doing dishes or working in your workshop, I want you to stop because that's not going to be productive. It's going to be very frustrating. You need 100% brain power beamed at your screen in order to really be successful in Brick House Branding. I love this workbook because it's a fill-in-the-blank template that allows you to work through the workbook as you're watching these videos and capture the juiciest pieces of this curriculum. The reason that I built a workbook instead of just handing you the transcript is, one, if I hand you the transcript, you won't read it. But more importantly, my mother was an educator. And one of the most profound things I remember her learning in college, she went to college a little later in life, but I remember her coming home and being just really astounded by the different learning styles. And one of the most powerful learning styles is called kinesthetic learning. It's when you write something, it ignites these neurons in your brain and it allows you to retain the information. So what I've given you is most of the curriculum in written form. I've gotten you 90% of the way there, and then you're going to fill in that last 10%. But if you don't right now have a printed out copy of workbook for module number 1, I want you to pause the video. I'll be here when you get back, and print out a copy and have it at the ready. Also, that module 1 progress tracker is going to be a lifesaver. Each module will have its own to-do list, and that's what a progress tracker truly is. It details all the different handouts that you need to complete, all the videos you need to watch. It scoops up that expert interview that's released in each alongside each module as well. It gives you your action items, and then it also tells you exactly what we're going to be discussing on our private strategy session from this module. So I want you to go ahead and make sure you have a printed copy of the progress tracker. and give yourself a check mark for video number 1 because we're already knocking that off of our to-do list. All right, let's get to it. I'm excited to get started with you. I have some sobering questions that I hope that you will be very honest with yourself when you begin to answer. You can just answer these in your head, but I want to know, how crowded is the marketplace for your product category? For whatever it is you're making, is that ceramics or apparel or jewelry or paper products or candles or bath and body products? How many other people out there are making the same type of products? Then here's my second question for you. Are you currently the only company offering whatever it is that you make? So if you put a particular spin on those candles or on that apparel, are you really the only one out there operating in that special niche or space? Third question for you, are you currently the lowest priced brand offering whatever it is that you make? Are you cheaper than everybody else around you? I certainly hope not, but a lot of people buy on price, so it's a fair question, right? Here's a good one. How easy would it be for a competitor to replicate your product, to knock it off and then push it out into the marketplace themselves? In other words, how secret is your secret sauce? Those questions are often very, very sobering. And if you felt your anxiety build and your blood pressure rise as I asked them and you contemplated them, then I want you to know that brand development is really the cure for that anxiety and that increase in blood pressure. Everything boils back to brand development. Fret not, for you are in the right place. This is a safe spot, and we are going to do our very best, you and I working together as a team, to really help your brand stand out, to raise your prices, to make your people want to pay higher prices. It's absolutely possible. Stick with me. I'll show you how we do it. But we're going to try and make you impervious to all that competition around you. And brand development is how you do that. So let's start with some definitions. A commodity, you've probably heard the word before, but may not know exactly what it means. Commodities are products which can be easily substituted for one another. They're items for which there's certainly a demand, but there's no real qualitative difference across a marketplace. In other words, I could buy this bar of soap or I could buy that bar of soap, but it really doesn't matter to me which one I buy. I just need to get clean. So I usually buy the one that's like on sale at Target or my local grocery store, or the one that's easiest for me to get my hands on. No big difference, no brand loyalty. Now let's contrast that with a brand. Brands create differentiated products, which are highly desired by their customer base. Brand customers have some degree of loyalty, and they seek out these specific goods in the marketplace. Brand customers are, bear with me now, less likely to substitute products based on price and availability. I hope your ears perked up. Availability is how easy something is to get. So brand customers are less likely to substitute goods because they are easier to get or because they are cheaper. Let's look at a few examples. Corn, fresh ears of corn. If you roll into the grocery store, you're probably not looking for that one specific brand of fresh corn, right? There's just a bin there. Now, you may have some preference for conventional versus organic, but what you're probably buying on is just which one looks the freshest, which one looks the healthiest. Another example is gas, the gas that you put in your car. If you have a preference, it's probably for the gas station. Perhaps they have the cleanest bathrooms, or their facility is the easiest one to navigate into, right? There's a good traffic flow pattern. It's not hard to get your vehicle in there. Or maybe, just maybe, they have 2-for-1 slushies during happy hour. I wouldn't blame a girl for loving a gas station for a good slushie. Who doesn't want free slushies? But the gas that goes into your car is probably 6 of one, half dozen of the other, and you're buying based on how close it is to the route that you're traveling and how cheap the gas is. Steel beams that go into buildings. Nobody knows the names of those things, right? Steel's just steel. It's a commodity, as is the wheat that's ever present in so many of our foods, and gold bars as well. So on the flip side of this coin, we have brands. Those are Nike Roshe shoes. I have teenage daughters, and one of my teenage daughters is a Nike fanatic. She does not care what special is being run by Reebok or what the latest New Balance shoe is. She wants Nike, Roshes, period, end of story. It doesn't matter if we have to mail order them or travel to the mall that's further from our home. It doesn't matter if we pay more for them. That's the shoe that she wants. And see, she's very particular and very loyal to that specific brand. Also, Starbucks. I know people who will drive by a Dunkin' Donuts that is closer to their home and cheaper in price to get to a Starbucks so they can have that specific customer experience, so they can enjoy that specific atmosphere and have that cute green mermaid cup. How about Louis Vuitton bags? Louis Vuitton has an immense amount of brand loyalty. Women who love Louis really love Louis. They collect the bags. They have the matching carry-on. If they're really fortunate, they have the trunk or the big piece of luggage that travels with them. But they wouldn't be caught dead carrying a purse from Target or even one from Coach. That's not the narrative that they're having with themselves or want to project to the world about themselves. Another great example is Mac. Mac users are Mac users, and they really don't care how cheap the price on that new PC is from Best Buy. If it doesn't have the Apple logo, they're not touching it. And one of the most powerful brands in the world is Harley Davidson. People ride Harleys almost as a religion. They bond with other people over their love of Harleys. They wouldn't be caught dead on a Honda crotch rocket. They put the Harley logo on their clothes, and some of them even put the Harley logo on their bodies via a tattoo. That's some extreme brand loyalty, and it's made Harley one of the most valuable brands on the planet today. So commodities compete on two things: price and availability. How cheap is it, and how easy is it for me to get my hands on? Brands compete on something completely different. Brands compete on emotional resonance, how this product makes them feel, how well they believe they're spending those dollars, what kind of narrative this particular purchase projects to the world about them. Those are all facets of emotional resonance. So if we're trying to build a brand, we have to get away from the idea that it's going to be readily available in every corner store. We have to get away from the idea that it's going to be the cheapest one on the market or maybe even reasonably priced. Artisan goods aren't often reasonably priced. We have a very different creative process than mass market goods. So you and I are going to be working really hard together on building that emotional resonance. Here's my core definition of branding. Branding is just the process of creating a consistent emotional connection to a product or service. One more time. Branding is the process of creating a consistent emotional connection to a product or service. Your brand development encompasses every single customer touch point, every last one. I can't see you, so you're in the safe zone, right? You're in the circle of trust here, but raise your hand if you've ever thought that branding really meant like your logo and the colors on your packaging, that's what branding was really all about. You're probably in really good company right now. Lots of people believe that the logo and color palette and the fonts are really what encompasses their brand, but good branding is so much more. It's your product packaging. It's the sales channels where you choose to sell your product, your website design, your price points, your product photos, the unboxing experience that your customers enjoy, the content that you choose to pump out and publish on your blog, the brand voice, how you talk about your products and how you talk to your audience, your customer service policies, the big story behind this brand, how you interact with other people on social media, the type of copy that you put onto your website. Brand development is huge. It's holistic. It's three-dimensional. And one of my big goals for you here in this first module is to get you to see branding through a new lens. It's not just the pictures. It's not just the logo. It's all the strategy and the careful refinement of who we're aiming our marketing towards. That's what brand development is really all about. So I want to spend just a moment breaking down this definition. Branding is the process of creating a consistent emotional connection to a product or service. So consistent simply means dependable over time. that two different customers that come to you will have a similar experience, or that a loyal customer who comes back to you again and again and again will have the same type of experience. They come to depend on that over time. So consistency is key. When you have a break in consistency, you truly have a break in trust. And trust is the currency of the new economy. We want to foster it and carefully safeguard it. Emotional just means evocative of a feeling. You're going to hear me say this a lot this semester. But how do you want your people to feel? If we're going to sell on emotional resonance, we have to be very attuned to those emotions, craft them very carefully, and then protect them and foster them. And then there's that connection piece. What is a connection? Well, we're trying to ensure that the feeling resonates with either who the customer is or, and this is where things get interesting, who they want to become. So that connection means that the emotions that we're fostering resonates with the customer somehow, either because they're like, yeah, that's me, or gosh, I wish I could be that person. I wish I could be part of that community. It's an aspirational style goal. So that's what branding is truly all about. I have this next graphic, and I think it's very illuminating, very illustrative of how a lot of people come into this course. They see this water line, and they might see a little bit of an iceberg sort of poking up above the water line. That's the pieces of the brand that they can see readily. Things like the logo, again, the color palette and the thoughts around a brand, the product photography, maybe even pieces of that customer experience. This is all above the waterline, and it's what I call your visual identity. Most people believe that that's what branding is all about. But just like with a real iceberg, if you peek underneath the surface of the water, you'll understand that there's a lot going on down there. There's actually more going on beneath the water on an iceberg than what you see above the water. So beneath the waterline of brand development, we have the discovery of your niche, what makes your product different, distinct, and special. The identification of your audience, the people you actually want to serve. Developing an understanding of what you're truly selling, because this is not all about product, far from it. And the cultivation of a clear brand voice. These are all components of brand strategy. So we have visual identity, which is easy to see, easy to wrap our minds around, and it's above the water. But below the water is brand strategy. And that's really what everything hinges on. We're going to get to visual identity here in Brickhouse Branding, I promise. But you might be surprised to discover that we don't even touch it until Module 5. That's Module 5 of 6. So we're going to spend the first 4 weeks, a tremendous amount of time together, 66% of our time together, in fact, working on that brand strategy piece. And then when we go to make those visual identity choices, they're going to be so clear to us, and they're going to be so much more informed because we have built this solid foundation of brand strategy below the surface. Now, a lot of people ask me why I call this Brickhouse Branding. And immediately people start singing that great Commodore song. I would sing it for you, but I am a wretched singer. However, that's not the namesake of Brickhouse Branding. Great song, but not the namesake. The namesake of Brickhouse Branding really comes from that childhood story about the 3 little pigs. So if you'll indulge me for just a moment. You may remember that there were 3 pigs, and they loved to play. Some of them were a little lazy. They just sort of free spirits they were. And they were commanded, if you will, to build houses for themselves. And their first brother built a hay house. The straw was what was readily available to him. It was cheap or free. He didn't have to work hard for it. He didn't put pen to paper and design a blueprint. He didn't go out and research the best building materials. He knocked this thing out in an hour or 2 with just what he found around him. And he then put his feet up, probably poured himself a martini, and celebrated how smart he was, because it was all over quickly, and it's good enough. But inevitably, you know what happens, right? The big bad wolf comes, and the big bad wolf is the market. It's all the other players in this industry. It's the people that are your competitors. It's the changing market conditions. It's the recessions that happen inevitably every couple of decades here in America. So the big bad wolf comes, and he huffs and he puffs, and he huffs and he puffs, and he huffs and he puffs some more, and he blows that house right over. The house itself, because it wasn't built strategically, because it wasn't built with some forethought, because it wasn't built with good materials, was very easily blown away. The business was eliminated. Now, the second brother was a little bit smarter. He forewent the hay, the straw, and he decided to build his house out of wood. Now, he might have consulted a couple of people and said, hey, have you built a house before? What do you want me to know? He definitely spent a little more time and energy on his building materials. This sucker might have taken a day or two. And still at the end of the project, he had to be very pleased with himself. It's pretty attractive. It looks good, but it probably doesn't have as much strategy behind it as it should. And sure enough, the inevitable marketplace arrived, huffed, puffed, huff, puff, huff, puff, huff, puff, huff, puff, and blew the house away. And that brings us to the third brother, the smartest little pig, if you will. He commissioned the very best building materials possible. Bricks, they're strong, right? They can withstand fire, they can withstand wind and storms. They're sturdy in the rain, they don't need ongoing maintenance. He chose bricks. He built blueprints. He thought about this house and all the things it needed to have incorporated into it and all the things it needed to be protected from before he built it. He may have done parts of this himself, but he probably also hired out some of the labor because you know what? He's not a good window installer. So he can lay bricks, but he's not great at windows. So he decided to commission someone to do the windows for him. This project took weeks to complete. And there were other little pigs dancing around him as brothers, drinking their martinis, cracking open their craft beers, and celebrating all this free time that they had. And they probably looked at him and went, why are you making this so hard on yourself, right? However, the market inevitably arrives, and this time the wolf, he huffed and he puffed and he huffed and he puffed. He drew in his deepest, strongest breaths and pushed out his very best exhales. But you know what? He kept puffing and puffing and huffing and puffing and huffing and puffing until he stroked the hell out. Because the marketplace, the economy, is really no match for well-built brands. And you, my friend, I want you to have a brick house. Building a strong brand is going to benefit you in ways you probably never imagined. First of all, it's going to attract customers. And that's really the name of the game, right? Where would any of us be without customers? So that's an easy one. But it's also going to decrease the price sensitivity of those customers. It's going to make them less fragile and more impervious to, let's say, 10 or 15% price increases. It's not going to rock their boat and they won't abandon ship. It's going to build loyalty among those people. So they're more likely to tell their friends and their family and their coworkers about your brand. It's going to increase your profits. It's true. If you have a strong brand, you can charge more for what you're doing. The exact same product. The product itself doesn't even have to change. But if we change the way we talk about it and how we package and present it to people, we can charge more. So we make more money. 3 cheers for that, right? It's going to improve staff morale. And even if you're just a party of one right now, and so many of my BHBers are, if you plan to scale this company, you're going to need to be a team leader. Everyone's going to need to feel active and engaged and like they're working for something bigger than themselves and like you're all wearing the same colored jersey. Branding, good brand development can help you do that. It will also sharpen your company vision and keep you on track. You'll know when you need to expand and what types of products you need to take and what sort of strategic vision and direction you need to pursue because you know what this brand is all about and you're less likely to chase trends or have these unfortunate strategic missteps because you really know who you are, who you're meant to serve, and what you're doing. And also, if you want to draw the attention of the media, if you want to be on those blogs and in those magazines, if you want to be in the Instagram feeds of those popular people that everyone is keeping an eye on, you're going to need a strong brand to do that. So much of that coverage is free. It's what we call editorial coverage, but it's given out on a merit basis. If an editor has thousands of brands to choose from, and she's got an upcoming article, we have to give her a reason to be attracted to your brand and to want to share your brand with her readers. So media exposure really hinges on good brand development. I love this quote from Maria Ross. She says a clear brand strategy makes it easier to focus your organization's activities around one true cause. It helps you easily determine which products or services to offer, how to price them, what your logo should convey, what experience your website should evoke, and even which people to hire. Making decisions without a strong brand foundation is akin to throwing darts at a moving target. Boy, right? You'll waste time and money with designers and website programmers and writers because either everything will look good or nothing will. Without a guidepost, any road looks like the right one, even if it leads to a dead end. If you've made investments in your brand and then at the end of the day thought, that didn't work out how I wanted it to, like that designer didn't nail it, or that website isn't really what I wanted to convey, it's probably symptomatic. It represents the fact that there was more brand development work to do. And when we get really strong and solid about who we are as a company, then we're able to engage people and have much, much better results. So a quick pop quiz for you. How many brand advertisements do you think the average American consumer is exposed to on any given day? Think of an answer in your head. Is it 750, 2,500, 6,000, or 11,250? Those numbers seem really big to me. Every single day. How many advertisements? If you guessed 6,000, you are correct. It's a mind-boggling number, isn't it? But according to Scott M. Davis, who wrote a book called Brand Asset Management, he says on an average day, consumers are exposed to 6,000 advertisements, and each year, more than 25,000 new products. Brands help consumers cut through the proliferation of choices available in every product and service category. You got to be able to cut through that noise and resonate. So here's my question for you. How can your brand cut through that noise? I've had a two-step system. Step one of brand development is decide what you want your brand to stand for, who you want to serve, and how you want to make those people feel. And then step two is we're going to construct a product collection, a brand voice, a visual identity, and a customer experience that consistently refers back to step one and reinforces step one. So our collection, our voice, our identity, our customer experience all have to represent what we want the brand to stand for, who we want to serve, and how we want to make those people feel at the end of the day. Y'all, we are small companies, limited in time, limited in resources, limited in energy. And because today's market is so dense and crowded, we have to find a way to stand out in order to be successful. I firmly believe that we stand out best by selecting a specific market segment, an audience of people, if you will, that we're going to serve. Number two, we've got to build an ongoing, focused dialogue with those people about who they are, who they hope to become, or what they want to see more of in the world. And then number three, we've got to create deep emotional resonance with that audience. Trying to serve everyone or failing to create emotional connection with your audience is a slow and painful path to entrepreneurial collapse. I don't want you to suffer that collapse. I want better for you. And I know that that better lies in brand development. That's how we are going to win this game. And just like that, you are already finished with video number one of module number one. I hope that the areas of your brain that might have been dormant are starting to light up. I hope that your interest is piqued. I hope that there's still some coffee in that mug of yours, because I have a whole bunch more videos behind this one. I'm Leila Barker for Lucky Break Consulting, and in the next video, I'm going to do a fun little case study that really shows you the power of branding in action. Take a quick breather, a good stretch at your desk, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.